Okay. Good morning, everyone. I've got the set here that we're going to focus on today. This is the Beautiful Butterflies bundle. And the first card we're making, which is kind of the leader card, and you'll understand why as I talk about it, is this one. And when you received your kit, you got a whole bundle of pieces for the creation of this card, which is meant as a display. And because of the mechanism, the butterfly is kind of loose and kind of wiggles. So it's like it's flying. Anyway, there's several techniques I'm going to be showing you today. And I just wanted you to see this. I like to see the finished card before I start doing a project because it gives me a good idea of the direction we're going. And I find it helpful. So you'll see me displaying the cards before we get into it. Um, this is the set. This is the stamp set. This is the die set. There are several dies in here. We'll talk about some of those. And this is the hybrid embossing folder, which is designed to not only emboss the paper. I don't know if I can get something dark here so you can see it. Not only designed to emboss the paper, but it's also designed to actually cut out the big image if you want to use the die in it. And we'll use that today, so you'll see that in operation as well. Okay, now there's a few things I wanted to cover, and I want to make sure, let's see, how are we doing? Okay, I do have the chat going, and oh, I know what I didn't do. I'm going to add a little bit of light. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. All right, let's get this back hooked on. Oops. All right, and this, I'm trying to add better lighting. We're working with it. Okay, let's see what else we need to do. Well, let's see. I have a few bits of information to share. Number one, I wanted to make sure that you were aware that oh gosh, that might be too much light. Anyway, Celebration has added new freebies. The Celebration will go to the end of this month in February. But in addition to what they already have in the brochure, they have the trusty tools dies. Some of you attended class where I use those. There's a lot of dies with that. That's a great deal if you like to make masculine cards. Bee Builder Punch, which is a punch that will help you create a bee. It also has the wings that look a lot like hearts, so some people use it for that. Brush Brass Butterflies. A lot of people enjoy using those. And there is a kit, Hooray for Honeycomb. And that is, I don't have a lot of kits, but it's got like a 3-dimensional honeycomb that you can put in your card, so that it's kind of a dimensional card kind of thing. But anyway, I wanted to let you know that those are the freebies that are available through Celebration. Now, I did write the product numbers, but I understand that when you order it, if you go and put your order in and then you go down when it announces about the Celebration items, it's like a list that you can go down to and you can pull from. So that's a way of looking to see, okay, what's available. I usually look it over, see, okay, what do I need? What do I want? What do I, am curious about, and that kind of thing before I actually pick. So that's just me. I like to see what my choices are before I make a pick. So anyway, welcome everyone. It would be helpful if you did kind of put a message in the chat so that I know who I'm talking with and can greet you personally. Anyway, this is for the celebration that's coming up. And what we're going to cover, this was a unique experience for me because this set had a paper. I don't think I have it right out here. Let me get it. No, I'll have to walk around and get it. Can't reach it from here. Anyway, it has a paper that's kind of a mottled finish. It might be one color, but it's got modeling in it, so it's not all solid same color. And it's pretty, but at the time I was doing this, I didn't have that paper, but I did have this gorgeous paper that was from Online Exclusive that I decided to use for these butterflies. And what happened is because I only had that one package, what I did is for each of the kits, I would pick a paper, and then using that paper, I would bring in the coordinating layer and cardstock so it all went together. So each of your kits is unique, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on chit chat. Let's see who else we have. Okay, well, in getting with, I wanted to show you some more too. In getting with, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this kit. In diving into this kit, I discovered many possibilities. Like in this case, they have a couple stamps that I put together to create butterfly wings. And then I used that. I don't know if you can see it, I embossed it. And I also just added a little cheerful sentiment, to go with the card. That's one way of approaching it. The more I play with it, the more I find that you can do with a kit. Another one, and this is a favored technique of mine, I used it at Christmas time. This is where I embossed the image using that hybrid folder I showed you. I embossed the image, and then I flipped it over to the deboss side, and then I colored it over with the stamp pad. And what happens, because the textures are raised, the stamp pad inked the raised portion, because this is the deboss side, and it showed the butterflies in a white with the blue background. This does not take long to do, and it makes a very cheerful card. So I wanted to share that possibility with you, in addition to the other things that this set can do. Let's see. Included in the set is a die that will cut out this butterfly shape, and it's designed to be like a butterfly shaped card. And I had to play with that too. And I haven't finished playing with it. I'm looking at it as far as the decorating and what I want to do with it. But it's cute, and I could see, sending this to one of my grandkids, wishing them a happy birthday or something along that line. But now there's another possibility too. And this is the same die cut, but I cut it so that it had the flat cardstock in the back. And then this is some of that Boke paper, and you can see the mottled effect it has. Probably what I'll do is I'll cut out another one of these butterflies and then have it inside underneath to write my sentiment or my note or whatever I want to put in there, like a party invitation or something. Anyway, that's just a couple more ideas of things that are available, to work with in this set. Okay, let's see. We're 10 minutes in. So I need to get to I need to get into the construction of the card itself. Now I will see. I might have to move that. I'm going to move the items for the time being. And then I'm going to get my first kit. Now, I did add additional lighting, hoping to kind of subdue the shadows a little bit. I still see shadows, but I think it's a little better than it was the last time. Anyway, in your kit, making sure that's empty, I have already die cut for you. I took, let's get this up here so you can see it. I took and I embossed the designer series. There you can see it. I embossed the designer series paper, and then I have the layers to go with it. And what we're going to do is we're going to put them together so that there's this real narrow little border, about a 1/16 of an inch actually, around the edge. And then we'll be applying it to the card base. So that's something that can be done. I've done some of mine already because I wanted to have the time to explain things to you. But these are a couple of them. And then we also have 3 white panels. Now, these will be for the back, and I'm going to stamp on those to get them ready. And I'm going to move this aside. And I'm going to bring some scratch paper in. I'm using this foam mat because these are photopolymer stamps, which means you can see through them, which is a really nice thing. But it also doesn't have the padding that the red rubber stamps have. So that's why I'm doing this. I won't need to stamp that one. It's just these two. Okay. So then now what I did was I picked ink that would coordinate with the papers again. So when you are doing your stamping, you want to choose an ink color that is compatible to the colors in your kit. I would, if you don't have a lot of colors to select from, you can easily just go with the black. But I like color, and I have them, so I use them. Now I'm just tap, tap, tap. You don't have to press hard. There's plenty of ink on the... Now what I'm doing here is I got the butterfly. I'm going to stamp it, but I'm going to stamp it so it's going partially off. It gives kind of a sense of movement that way. And then the other one, I'm going to stamp up in the top corner. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to close my pad because accidents can happen. I like to keep it from happening if I can. Now those are ready to go on the back side. We'll set that aside for the moment. Now the card base, I've already scored it for you because I felt it would help move things along a little bit better. But you need to score. Okay, this is a gatefold card, so it folds to the front. And what's going to happen when you fold on the score lines, the first 2 in will be valley folds. They'll go down. And the 2 middle ones are mountain folds, which means they go up. This will allow the card, this is in reverse, so this will allow the card to pop out when you're presenting it. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with the back. And I'm going to start with the white pieces. And I'm going to add the white pieces with glue. Now, I use liquid glue a lot because it helps me, if I don't get it right where I want it, it helps me maneuver it into the position it needs to be. So I'm going to add the glue. And when I add the glue, I add it with a little bit of leeway, like about 1/4 of an inch from the ends, because when you smush it down, the glue will spread and you don't want to squeeze out to the sides where it's visible. Okay, and and plus when I set it down, if I don't have it set quite right, again, you have a little leeway. And you'll have like a 1/16 of an inch. I don't know if you can see that very well, but you'll have like a 1/16 of an inch spacing between the card bases. And then let's do this one. Now, I shared a lot of the additional ideas because I know some of you have purchased the kit, and I thought you would enjoy having a heads up on the possibilities. Now, what we're doing today, I rejoice in, because not only are we creating cards, but we are going to be using kind of leftovers from the first card we're creating here to create the other 2 cards. And I think it's wonderful if you can use up all the pieces, and it also saves time if you're using what's already been created. Okay. I see I don't have fancy nails on my fingers, and I use my nails as tools all the time. And so when I see people who are doing cards with their fancy nails, I kind of cringe a little, because I think of how difficult it is to grab a hold of things with the extra thickness. Now what I'm going to do, I did the others, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to put the glue on the back side. And because this is embossed, I'm more generous with the glue, because when it's embossed with the raised areas, you have less contact with the cardstock. And again, just that narrow edging. And I have the white background. It kind of helps me see my edges. Okay. All right, that's one. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'm going to use the other one I have already done. I'm going to apply that to the back of this. Now, when I'm watching videos, I always like it when they have the darker cardstock and you can see so clearly where I'm putting the glue. Okay. Now these are really narrow borders. Usually I do borders of like 1/8 of an inch, but because there's so many layers in this card, it was better to use the narrow to get, and I tried it without the layer, but that layer gives it the pop. It makes it stand out. There's ways that you could possibly make the layer out of designer series paper, maybe a darker one. And that's an option. But in this case, I like the sturdiness, and I just kind of went with that. Okay, up a little there. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a second. Now, this is the back of the card. We're going to be turning it over and applying to the front. But we have some things that we need to do for the front. Now, In the kit, I have given you, no, I didn't do the stamping. I'm not allowed to do that in the kits, but I did this ahead of time because I'm going to show you an example of how we can take the die and shorten it. And I'm going to move this over for a minute while that's drying. And I'm going to show you a couple things here. Move this too because I need space. Okay, I'm bringing in my die and emboss machine. Move that out of the way. Okay. And then because I'm going to be doing the die cutting, move this up a little bit. Oh, I can't see because it moved my thing. Okay. I'm using plate number 1, die adapter plate number 2, and then I have a cutting plate, which is very scarred up from all the cutting I've done. That's a number 3 plate. And then after I put the dies together, that will be topped with another number 3 cutting plate. Now I need to get the dies. The dies that come with the kit, you actually have this, which is the longer die cut, which we'll be using for the sentiment we've got, a shorter one. And then we have a butterfly. There's a detailed butterfly die, and then there is an outline die. Okay. And then on the other sheet, and you get a lot of dies with this, they have like more butterflies. But this is the big one is the one where I showed you where they made the butterfly card. That's what you would use for that. And then these 2 are outline dies that can be used to cut the stamped butterflies that I use for the back. And then this is another butterfly body to go with this bigger butterfly here. Now, it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. I included it in your kits, but it's a matter of choice. So what we're using right now is we're going to use this longer die. I'm going to move this to the side. And I'm going to die cut this piece of cardstock. It's the same color as I used for the layer behind the designer series paper. Okay, I'm using tape to kind of hold it in place. You don't always have to do it. If I just, as a precaution, I tend to do it. All right. Okay. Now we have the die cut. I'm going to take this. Oh, by the way, the tape I'm using is Post-it note tape. And I use it because it's not a permanent adhesive. And it usually I can use it for these and it won't damage the paper. Now there's our die. And there's a scrap. I'm getting rid of that. Now we're going to have to cut another one. And this is a little more intricate. Again, we have the base plate 1, the die adapter 2, the cutting plate. Oh, wrong one. Yeah. I tend to use one cutting plate down for most of my cutting, and then I will alternate with a clear plate. And when this one gets warped, this one, then I replace it with the one I've been using and just kind of keep working it that way. What it does is it allows, well, like in the videos, you have a chance to see what I've got going on underneath. So now we have the happy birthday. Well, if you look, this die is really long for the happy birthday. We don't need to have it that long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to line it up, I'm going to tape it down. Okay, I'm lining it up. I want it, one of the things about cutting, stamping your sentiment and cutting it is that you can if you stamp crooked, you can correct it, by lining up the die just so that it's nice and straight. I like that feature. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I don't want to cut this all the way because I'm going to shorten it. So I'm going to say, remind me to stop when I get to that. And then I line it up straight so that my cut will be straight. And then I'm going to go in here. Well, let's straighten it out. Okay. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to die cut to that point. Okay. And then I'm going back up a little more. Okay. And then what's going to happen, if you can see that, I'm going to try and get it close. It's cut to a certain point. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to take this tape off. Okay. And I'm going to move this piece down to where it's about even to the other side. Now, what's happening is with my fingers, I'm feeling where it's in the track so I know it's lined up. And then I can tape this down again and I can finish the cut. Again, laying it on there with the top layer. All right, feed it through. You don't have to feed it all the way through. You just go like that. I think we're far enough. And then we can have it cut. And there you can see it's cut all the way through. Now the Post-it note tape, I use it several times, but eventually it starts falling apart, which is when I just simply replace it. So I really like it. It's been a working help to me. Now, what we've got here is we now have, and if you can see it, I'm trying to hold it so you can see it. It's you have your two die cuts. You have the layer behind that peeks out on each side, and we have the happy birthday in the middle. Now, I'm going to move this away. One of the tricks I've learned is that it's always better to try and put your stuff away as soon as possible, or at least have a gathering spot for it, because you get so embroiled in what you're doing, and then suddenly you don't remember where you set something, and then you can't find it, and then you get frustrated, and that's no fun. All right, so that's it for this right now. Well, no, it's not. While we're doing this, okay, I'm setting these aside, and then while we're doing that, now we're going to bring in the hybrid embossing folder, and I'm going to show you a trick. And what this is, I'm going to use this as an example. For the front of the card, I'm going to need a butterfly. And this is one I'm using on the inside, and I've laid the die cut of pretty paper on top of it to coordinate with the other paper. But on the outside, you have a couple of choices. If you have the stamp set, you could stamp it and then just die cut it. But I'm going to take this paper to die cut the butterfly out of, and I'm going to put it in here. But I need the die that goes with this folder. Okay. Now, let me show you the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it. Okay, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to place this in the embossing folder. Now, when you have it placed right, it'll kind of fall into place and then it stays put. Now, here's the trick. When I do this, I want to put this over it in such a way that it lines up. Now, what I see here is it's kind of on the side. I want it more straight. So I'm going to adjust it to be a little straighter. And I'm using the back version to help me gauge. Do I like that? Well, that looks pretty good. I think I want it down just a smidge. Just a smidge. See how that, oh yeah, I like that better. Okay, so I have it down just a smidge. I have it kind of outlined on this piece of cardstock that I've cut. And I have the dimensions and the instructions. And I'm going to put it on here. But in order to run this through, this is the 3D embossing folder. So in order to run this through, I have the main plate 1. And then I have this gray plate, which is number 4. And I use that for my sandwich. And I feed it through. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to feed it through. And while it's going through, it's going to not only die cut the butterfly, but it's also going to emboss. And I'll show you that in just a second. And I think we can move this stuff aside because I think we're done now for the moment. Okay. Now, what we have is we have a die cut and embossed butterfly. And we have this piece here that's also embossed. And we're going to use that in the next card that we make. But this one is for this card. So I'm taking both pieces and they're both going to be used. And I'm putting that over with my other kit right now so I don't lose the pieces. And then I'm going to put this away. Again, the die. Oh, another hint. One of the things that I tend to do, and I started this early on, I'm very, very happy I did, is when I get my die kits, I go ahead and photocopy them for the layouts so that later on, when I go to put things back, and some are more tight than others, I can fit everything on again. So that's one of my tips. When I originally was signed up as a demonstrator, the tip I received was to take an outline where each of the dies were, but I found that rather tedious. And this was a lot faster, and I like it better. Okay, so that's put away, and then we're going to put this away. Okay, now back to our card. We now have 2 butterflies. We have the sentiment, and then we have the papers. These are dry now, so we're ready to go ahead and add our papers. I'm just making sure which direction we're going. Nothing's worse than making one side one direction and then turning it the wrong side up on the other side. And believe me, it happens. Okay, now this I'm putting the glue on, the designer series paper. It'll have time to dry by the time I finish adding up the others. Okay. Now, if you are trying to put your cards together while you're watching this, that is fine. I made the kits so that you could do it along the way. But if by chance I go too fast, the plus of this is that this is recorded so you can come back and watch it again. Okay. I just find these little holders handy. It's not a Stampin' Up! Product. It was a gift actually to me, but I've seen them around. So if that's something that appeals to you, what it does is it holds the glue face down so that when you're ready to use it, the glue is ready as well because it's already face down to the chip. I tend to use the pointy tip more than the other tip. In fact, there's only been a few times I remember actually using the pointy tip or the wide tip. And that, I think, was when I was trying to spread over a large surface. Okay, I'm just simply lining these up, and I'm using the glue. The liquid glue allows me to adjust, like if they're a little bit crooked or if they're not even, allows me to adjust it so that it gets where it's supposed to be. Let me do it this way. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know that when I'm busy crafting, I could be doing something and then all of a sudden I'll get this idea of, oh, hey, I wonder how it would go that way. And I'm impulsive enough to try it. However, it's not always the best idea to jump around like that. But it's hard for me sometimes. So staying on task by doing these videos is a good thing. Okay. There we go. Down to the last one. Now, let me tell you, there was a lot of pieces to these cards, and I gave you the measurements in the instructions, but I think I spent more time getting the pieces prepared than it will take to put the card together. So that's the advantage of doing the kits, because then it's already done for you kind of thing, a lot of it. Now, what's happening here? We are going to, in your kit, there's this mechanism, and it is 3 inches by, what does it say? Yeah, 3/4 of an inch. And then it's scored at 1/2 inch, an inch, and then it jumps over to 2 inches and 2.5 inches. And what I did, again, I folded it and I'm holding it. I don't know if you can see it. I'm holding it up so you can see how you're going to fold it in. Again, valley fold, mountain fold, mountain fold. And what's going to happen is this is going to be our mechanism for placing the butterfly. And now we're going to figure out where we want to put the mechanism. So I'm kind of holding it down here because it wants to bounce up. And that's the idea, is you want it to elevate. But I'm putting it here, and then I'm taking a look. Is that too high? I want it covered by the butterfly. It might be too high. So I might go a little further. Now, before I do that, I want to do this. With the butterfly, I have the card stock one, and then I have this detailed one that was cut from designer series paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put a bit of glue just in the center And I'm going to glue that onto this cardstock one. And I'm leaving the outer wings loose so they can flutter, basically. Okay, that I'm setting aside to dry. Now this, when I put this on, and I'm not putting the glue yet, but when I put this on, I want to make sure that it's in the right position so that you don't want the wings to extend beyond the card. You want to have it within the card, not only up and down, but also on the sides, because what's going to happen is you're going to be folding these in and you need to have it fit. So that's the consideration. Right now, I'd say that's a good spot for the mechanism. And what I've done is I've collapsed the mechanism down, and I'm going to add glue to each side. Okay. And then I'm going to put it in the spot that we decided was a good spot. And you have to hold it in place for a while to let the glue set. Now, some people can do that. You can. But sometimes when you go to transfer, especially something that moves like the mechanism would, it could move out of place before when you go to place the other weight on it. So it only takes a few seconds to let the glue dry. So I don't mind holding it. And then at the same time, we're going to have to do the similar thing here with this. So yeah, I think we got it. Yep. I think. Nope, not yet. Okay. Patience. Oh, so anyway, say hi. Let me know how things are going for you. If you're following okay, if you have any questions. Now, I have toyed with the idea of possibly using glue dots, but because this background is embossed, I wasn't sure how well they would connect. Okay. Yeah, I think we got it now. All right, and then I'm going to add the glue here for the butterfly. And we're going to put the butterfly on, making sure that it clears on both sides. That's important. Okay. And then it's a holding pattern again. And then for the happy birthday, that's going to go down here. And we're just going to add some glue and kind of glue it in the center so you have the two end pieces there that kind of highlight it so that it doesn't get lost in all the other busyness that are going on. So. Okay. Lining that up, making sure it's even on both sides. I'm going to let that dry a minute before I try to glue it down. Okay. Okay, there's our butterfly. A fluttery butterfly, if you can see it. Okay, now we're ready for this. I don't know about you, but I think the cards I use the most are actually birthday cards. And they're a happy type of card to make. but there's always the other cards that are needed, like somebody needs encouragement or help or, sympathy or get well. Okay, here we are. Okay, the base of the card is done. Now, we need a belly band to support it. And what happened is I cut this piece here and I'm overlapping it maybe an inch from the center. And then I'm folding it around the edges and around again. So it will kind of meet in the center there. And you want it to meet evenly. Now, the thing of it is, you do want it loose enough that it can slide. You don't want it too tight or you can't slide it. And you don't want it too loose or it'll just slide off. So that's to keep in mind when you're folding the belly band around. And then I'm adding glue to the end. And I'm making sure it's lined up. Okay. And once it has set, we will be ready to add the butterfly. Now, in this case, I made the butterfly a peach color. And I'm going to want to embellish it. And because the card is already so thick, the embellishments that I chose were more on the flat side. This one, I don't know if that's a good color. Oh, this might be a good color. I'm using sequins because they tend to have less dimension than the rhinestones. Well, that wouldn't be bad either. That's a real strong possibility. I don't know about this one. It's a maybe. They have a variety of the sequins that you can pick from. Oh, that one would probably go good too. Do I want a contrast? I think I want contrast. Let's look at it that way. Okay, let's see. I kind of like that contrast. This one's a little sparklier. I think maybe I'm going to go. Again, the choice is yours as far as what you have. I believe I put some sequins in your kit that I thought would go with what you have. Do I like that? Well, it adds that sparkle. How do we like this one? That gives contrast. Do I want the contrast or I want the sparkles? I think I'm going to go with contrast. Okay. See, it's little decisions like that that kind of make the finished product yours. You know, it's just while many can use the same basic design, it's the finishing touches that really make the difference. Now, this was called, if I can find it, Pastel Adhesive Back Sequins. I'm not sure if they're still current. I have such a supply of sequins, embellishments in general, that I'm never really sure what's current or not. I just keep using whatever fits what I'm working with. And sometimes that's kind of a fun search. All right, here we go. Now we have our butterfly ready. Our belly band's done. And we just need to adhere this. I'm having a little debate. Okay, ways that we could adhere this. We could use a little bit of tear tape, or we could use glue dots, or just glue. I think I'm just going to go glue right here in the center. And it lets me place this. I'm going to raise it up a little bit there and kind of center it. And there you go. You have a completed card with the belly band that slides off, and you open it up and you have this fluttery butterfly. Now what you can do with this is after it's glued, you can kind of bend it a little bit so it adds to that flutter. And I just think it's fun. I just think it's a fun card. Okay, so card 1 is done. Now we'll move to card 2. Again, cleaning up my stuff before I move on. And here's the card envelope. All right. Let's put this one back too. All right. Now the second card. Remember that piece that we cut the butterfly out of? We're going to use that. Let me get this in here. Oh, that's where I'm running into problems. Okay. All right. 2 cards. All right. Now, that piece that we used is going to be used right here. Now, I wanted to show you this card. What I do, I'm going to use this for a grandson. And I felt like it was masculine enough to suit him. But what I did was the butterfly I cut out of designer series paper was basically just different shades like a rainbow going down. And I embossed it, but I wanted to highlight the embossing. And so I took well, if I can get it out, there it is. I took some sandpaper. I had this on a block. And I took some sandpaper. And what happens with the designer series paper is you have the color on the surface, but underneath it's got a white core. And what I simply did was I took the sandpaper and I gently sanded it. And suddenly the embossing, the raised surfaces get highlighted. And that's what I did with this particular card, is I highlighted it by sanding it. Now, I didn't use that type of a butterfly in this particular kit. Set that up there for the time being. What I did, okay, I have the piece that we cut, and I paired it with this card. And then knowing the colors, I picked designer series paper out that had the similar colors. This time the paper was pretty busy, so I did emboss it. If you can see that, there you can see it. I did emboss it, so it has the texture, but I didn't sand it. What I did instead, and this is actually another piece, I cut from some, basically a card base, or not card base, cardstock layer that I prepared ahead of time. And I'll be using that one, what I cut in, well, I used it in the sample for the third card. So, but it went so well with the colors here that I decided I wanted to add that. Now this one is definitely more feminine than the first one I showed you, but that's okay. Everybody likes butterflies, right? Okay, so this card is super easy to make. The trick of it is you just have to be careful with your glue, but at the same time, make sure you've got glue around the edges, but not too close to the edges because you don't want it to seep out. And you have to be fairly generous with it because this is embossed, so it doesn't have the full contact that is usually there with unembossed cardstock. You know, the raised areas do create a little bit of a problem. All right. Now, let's turn this over. And I add it to the front. Now this I cut so it goes end to end and just leaves a strip top and bottom. And that's all you have to do there. And in cases like this, I'll sometimes just add a little bit of weight to let it dry. Like we did with the other butterfly, is I'm going to add a little bit of glue right to the center portion. And I can cut it, come out. Yeah, there's glue there. And then I'm going to add it to this butterfly, the larger butterfly. I'm going to let that set for a bit. Okay, let's see how, yeah, we like it. Okay, let that dry for a minute. And then we're going to be adding it here. Now, on the first card, I put happy birthday on the front. But on this one, what I did was I put the happy birthday inside, and I'm decorating the inside with a strip of the same designer series paper. So I'm just simply going to add some glue to that. Okay. And add the strip down at the bottom. Now, I like using the strips of the designer series paper to decorate with because I think it ties the whole card together. Now, in this case, it looks like that's slightly larger, just slightly larger than the layer. So I'm going to trim that. But before I trim it, I'm going to make sure that the glue has dried. So we'll go back to the front while that's drying. Here's the front. Let's do some gluing. Now, there's two ways you could do it. I'm kind of torn. I mean, I could add the glue right here. I know that's what I want to do. And I want to get some out. But in a way, I don't want to restrict it completely because I want some flutter. But that'll be mostly done with the top layer. But you just simply fit this in here, line it up. Line it up, line it up, line it up. And the liquid glue lets you do that. Okay. And then you have the card. And then as this dries, you can also, I'm trying to get this top piece, you know, bend it a little bit so that you have that extra dimension, that extra flutter. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to simply add this to the inside of the card. Okay, and lining it up. Okay, if you can see that I've got a completed card. And by not having the sentiment on the top, the card's free to flutter, which is fun. Okay, so that's card number 2. I'm going to put it back in here. And then we're going to move on to card number 3. Putting these together. Okay, card number 3. Now this is the sample that I did. I can pull this out. Now remember that top layer I did for the butterfly in the last card? That came from this piece of cardstock. This piece of cardstock I had prepared a while back. I was doing something else, and I was doing color washes. And while I had the ink out and doing the color washes, I did a few extra. And I saved it because I thought it was pretty how it turned out, and just waiting for the right moment to use it. Now, what I did in this case is I cut that detailed butterfly out of this cardstock, which I used just now for the top element of this one. And speaking of elements, if you want to add some additional sparkle here, you could. I'll look at what I've got, and I probably will add a few things. But this left, obviously, an opening in this piece of cardstock. Well, what am I going to do with that? One thought was I could raise it up and have a shaker card behind. Okay, that might be fun. But another thought I had was if I could find some complimentary designer series paper, and then I did the detailed die cut out of, black, then I could, create a pop of color on this generally blue background. I used blue cardstock as well. And I did the happy birthday inside, added the butterfly, but this I embossed in gold. And the reason why I took the sentiment and embossed it in gold was because the paper I used had the gold in it, and I just thought it echoed it and helped bring it together. And I really liked how it turned out. But the object was to take a piece that you cut something else out of and use it. Now this was a little more fun. More of a challenge in a way. What I have here is I have this piece of cardstock that I had cut the butterfly out, the detailed butterfly out. And I'm getting it out here for you. For that first card we just made. See, that came from here. And I wanted to use this. So in your kits, you have a piece of designer series paper with a smaller decal cut butterfly cut out of it. Now, on some of them, I did not cut the butterfly it was 6x6 paper, cut it down because I realized that would give you a chance to choose if you wanted to go, and this was not put together, this was another kit, if you wanted to go horizontal card or if you wanted to go vertical card, which is this a vertical. So that was the reason why I didn't cut all the papers when I realized, oh, let's give them a choice. Now, this is a kind of a darker card, but you know what? Something about it just really appeals to me. And I see it. A lot of the cards, I don't know, speak to me. And they say, oh, well, I'm a good card for a sympathy, or I'm a good card for reminding that you're cared about, or, thinking of you, or something like that. So a lot of the cards kind of speak to me. In this case, I took this paper and I flipped it around. And, well, naturally, that green wouldn't automatically go with the blue card. But what I did was I used a rainbow type designer series paper to cut. This is the larger die cut of the set. And the detailed is smaller, as you can see, which is what this was cut. So when I go to put this on here, I have, and I will show you how I adhere it, but I have this little touch of green, lime green, at the bottom. And then with the butterfly on top, it just kind of pops, but it ties it together. So that's what we're going to do. Now, what I'm doing is I'm flipping this over and I'm placing this over the opening carefully. We want to cover the opening completely. And once I get it there, then, now you can use what you want, but I just use regular tape because this side will be glued down and no one will see it later on. So I'm just adhering it with tape to hold it in place. Maybe a little bit down there. Okay, that's a little bit long, so let's cut that. It escaped me. It escaped me. So I'm going to have to go this way. There we go. Okay. So I have the butterfly in position. Now I'm ready to add the black butterfly. Now in this case, I think I want it to stay down. So I'm going to put glue over the whole area. So what I'm going to do, and this is one of my favorite tricks again, is I'm going to take my silicone, here we go, my silicone mat. Oh, and the reason for a silicone mat is because the glue won't stick to it. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to add some glue to the mat. Pardon me while I squeeze, getting it out. Now you could use the Tombow glue. One of the elements of Tombow glue is the fact that it stays sticky when it dries, whereas this is just tacky glue and it doesn't stay sticky. It dries, and it just, depending on what I'm doing, I use one or the other. Um, in this case, on the silicone mat, I've got a sponge. I'm dabbing it, and then I'm taking the butterfly, and you can feel the top is smooth and the back side the is rough, so that it helps you determine which side of the butterfly are you working with. And I just use a silicone mat and I dab the glue over the butterfly. Okay, and when I get that to the bottom, see that way, and I'm careful to hold it in place. I don't know if you can see that, but of course there's glue that gets on the mat, but the object is to hold it in place so it doesn't get all over everything on the outside of the butterfly. So I'm just kind of lining this up and placing it in position. And there we have our butterfly added. Now we can add it to the card base. And what I'm doing here is I'm checking. Sometimes when you fold them, they're slightly uneven. There's a little lip. This one actually is pretty darn close. But I'm going to take now and I'm going to add the glue. And I'm going to add extra glue here too, because we have separate pieces. I want them all to stay down. We don't need the card to fall apart on us. Okay. And then we can add this. Now remember, okay, I'm using the liquid glue option to even things up. Okay. Now remember when I said that sometimes the cards speak to me. With this one, oh, one more thing. And this is optional if you want, but you can add the butterfly body, and I think I'm going to in this case. Okay. A few dabs of glue. Now, I also, when I'm dealing with smaller pieces, I use tweezers. These are reverse tweezers. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, they open when you press on them, and when you don't press, they close. So they hold, and then when you're ready to release them, you press on them and they open, and then you line it up. Okay, there you have your butterfly. Now, I was a little torn on this because of the darker background, which is also embossed. I embossed it as I like the texture. I thought, well, maybe if I use this, in case you need me, I'm here. I stamped it, and then I looked for a die that would fit, and that just fits. Or sometimes the simplest things mean the most. That's another possibility. And then what I did is I die cut another piece of the rainbow paper, and I die cut one of the smaller butterflies, and I'm going to layer that, and I can add it to the inside of the card. So maybe I go that way. I haven't decided for sure, but I think I like this. So I'm going to show you this one. But I also want to show you another. I'm moving things out of the way. Another case of adjusting the dies. You see, that one just fits. This one is a little long, So I could do like we did in that earlier one. And I think I might. Okay, I'm lining this up. And I'm going to tape it down with the... Oh, let's get the... let's get the embossing machine out again. Oh. And my tape is on here. Okay, let me line this up. I don't know if you can see. Move it down just a smidge. All right, so I'm lining this up. Okay, and then I'm going to open this up. Oh, I got to turn backwards. That's why I'm feeling awkward about it. Oh, there. And again, I'm using plate number 1. I'm going to die cut, so I need plate number 2, the die adapter, and plate number 3. I'm going to add this. I'm going to put the reminder that I'm not going to cut all the way through. So I'm bringing it to that point. And then I'm going to put the top plate on. I'm going to run it through. And then I'm going to stop. And I'm going to go back. And do like we did with the other one. Moving this. And removing this tape. And then what I'm doing now is I'm determining, okay, I need to find the placement where it's about even. Okay, and I'm feeling, okay, I'm finding the placement where it's about even, and I'm feeling the back to know that my die is in the slots. And then I'm going to tape it down, and I'm going to run it through again. I only have to go about halfway. I know it's already covered. And there you can see it's all cut. I can remove that. And you can see I've cut it shorter than the original piece. Okay. Now the oh, I'm gonna take this off. The dies that I used in this case was a set that I found really handy because it has the squares, it has the circles, and it has the strips. You know, I've used it an awful lot. It's called the Stylish Shape Dies. I haven't checked recently, but I think it's still current. And you know, this would be one of the sets that I would recommend getting if you are wanting to die cut, because it's so handy. Okay, let's go back to the card. If I can find it now. Here it is. Okay. Well, in case you need me, I'm here. Okay. I'm going to pop this up with dimensionals. Oh, and there's one more thing I want to point out. Remember, I told you, and you can just barely see it if I get the light just right, that the Tombow glue, when it dries, can you see those little dots there? When it dries, it remains sticky. And this is a hint I just got recently, was that by putting little dots of it on the paper that we have our dimensionals on, they become like little mini glue dots. Now let me show you. Our regular glue dots, and these are considered mini, but those are really mini. Our regular glue dots, I hope you can see it. See them? They're fairly sizable. These are really tiny. For those really tiny spots that you want to maybe sequins or, you know, little loose embellishments that don't have the glue on them already. And they're just really handy. I've done the glue dots in several cases. I use them working with vellum kind of behind an element so they don't show. But these are so tiny, it'd be really easy to sneak it in, you know, where you just need that little extra touch. Now, I'm not using that right now. I just wanted to tell you about that recent hint I just learned. I think it's cool. I'm going to be experimenting with, trying to get it. There, go get the right one. Okay. I'm trying to experiment with it, and I'll have to let you know how I feel about it after I've played with it for a bit. I'm just using the regular size dimensionals on this sentiment. Okay. And then a lot of times when I'm placing things like this, I will use those tweezers I told you about to help me with the placement, because that way I can place it and I can see without my fingers in the way. Is that where I want it? And I think I want a little bit down, little tiny bit down, just there. Okay. Anyway, that's for that. And then let's do the inside. If I can find it again. I'm so good at burying things so quickly. Well, there's the butterfly. Okay. Maybe we won't do the inside just yet. There it is. Okay. So for that, same idea as we did earlier with the sponge and the glue, is I would simply take and turn the black butterfly over. I think I might need more glue. Turn the black butterfly over and add some glue to the back side. And this is almost out, so I have to really squeeze hard. Okay. Just dab it. And then when I get to the bottom, I use it to pick it up. And then I can add it. And there we go. And then I also have in here a little butterfly body. Come, mama. Okay. Again, you can tell the front from the back because the back will be rougher. And I can add a little bit of glue. In this case, with the antennas being as fine as they are, it's helpful to have that to hold it in place. And then the tweezers are really helpful to keep everything aligned. Whoop, over there. Okay, now we have this one finished, and then we're just simply going to add it to the inside of the card. I want it to go this way. With a card like this, a lot of times I feel like it's a note card and you need as much space to write. I do like to add a little decoration, especially when it helps tie in. the front of the card with the inside of the card. But there are so many situations that a card would be good to send that I wouldn't expect you to have a stamp sentiment to suit everyone. And there's times when only your own words will help. Now, part of the idea, aside from the fun of making these cards, is to send them out and brighten somebody else's day. And that's why I consider making cards a win-win-win situation. Win because A, it's fun to create. B, it's fun to share the creating. And C, it's fun to brighten somebody else's day. I consider that a real big win-win-win. Anyway, I'm glad you were able to come today. I hope you enjoyed this. I know that I absolutely am thrilled with this particular set. I see so much potential. I haven't even explored all of it, as you can see with the butterfly die cut that made the card. But I know it's there and I can play with it. Now, as asked for by one of my students, is to give you a heads up on the upcoming class so that if they decide they like it and they want to buy, they can. This is the Terrific Toadstool set. Now, I happen to like mushrooms, so it appealed to me right off the top. It comes with a punch if you buy the bundle. The punch will cut the stem. It'll cut the top of two of these that are stamped. You can see it a little bit better there. And then you have a bunch of other stamps you can add. Now, to give you an idea of what you can do with it, with Celebration, they also have, I think it's called Toadstool Meadows, but it's paper that goes with this set. And it's 6x6, and that's what I used for this card, was the paper. This is one of the cards that we'll be making. It's kind of a fun fold because it doesn't go all the way over. And it's a cute set and it's fun to do. And this one is like a note card popping up to say hi. This one I had some fun with. I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, you can see a little bit. One of the sentiments says, "You are magical." And I got busy with the toadstools and I was looking at ideas. And this came from, the Citrus Blooms set, the background. And I cut it out and I thought, oh, that looks good. And then I put it on the black and, oh, it just made the colors pop. Now, what you can see, barely, but carefully, you can see that I added some Wink of Stella. I added some to the butterfly. I added splashes of it in the background. And I just thought it emphasized this is magical, or you are magical idea. So this is the second card that we'll be doing. And then I haven't quite decided on the third card. I'm tempted to go with this because this teaches another technique. But like I said, I haven't quite decided. But they're cheerful cards, and I think they'd be really fun to do. And that is what I've got going for the next class, which would be on the 15th of March. So anyway, there you have it. And appreciate you showing up. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that as you make cards, in addition to brightening your day, you will be brightening someone else's too. And if you have any questions, let me know. Anyway, I think, gosh, let's see, what is that? Oh gosh, an hour and a half. Okay. I'm going to have to quit talking so much, I guess. Anyway, have a good day, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Now I just have to remember how to shut this off. Okay. There we go.